Another definition which I like is that theosophy is the art of living and the science of life. So when I said earlier that it was science, religion and philosophy, that all falls within it being the science of life. But it's practical too. So that's where the art of living comes into the definition of what theosophy is about.
The central premise of theosophy is reincarnation, that each eternal soul comes back into a succession of new bodies, that each of us has many lives, that death is a pause, not an end.
The idea of reincarnation is that there is something within you which continues to explore reality in this or any other mode of existence. This so-called reincarnating ego is the essential part of you that knows itself as an identity. Now, this individuality can never find complete expression through one physical life, and so it continues to project itself into a variety of contexts, historical contexts, by which it can fulfill and develop its potential. The individual personality lives but once, it is argued. What reincarnates is the essence of that personality.
Dying is the waking from a sleep, and death the light. Another mortal life, another night.
If you think about it, it's rather as though you get out of bed on a morning and you put on some clothes and you go out. You meet some people you've met before. Most people you meet you haven't met before. You learn some lessons, have some experiences. Then at night you take off those clothes and you go to sleep, and then in the morning wake up again, put on different clothes, go out into a world which has changed in a short period of time, and repeat it till eventually you don't have to go out into that world. You know all of it. This is when you become a Buddha or a Christ. But until we get to that stage, we have to come down to this plane of experience, because only here can we learn the lessons. You can't learn lessons in a dream state. You must come into the world to learn it.
Then death, so called, is but old matter dressed in some new figure and a varied vest. Thus all things are but altered, nothing dies, and here and there the unbodied spirit flies. From tenement to tenement though tossed, the soul is still the same, the figure only lost. And as the softened wax new seals receives, this face assumes, and that impression leaves. Now called by one and now another name, the form only is changed, the wax is still the same. So death, so called, can but the form deface. The immortal soul flies out in empty space to seek her fortune in another place.
You take in all the memories and all the experiences of the life you've just led, and you build that into your permanent self. So that nothing is wasted, nothing that you have thought or said or done during a whole lifetime is ever wasted.
There is no death. Dying is simply the expression we use to cover that transition between this mode of reality and any others we may enter into after that death state. Everything is change, everything is motion. There is nothing that is ever in a condition of stasis or being absolutely still. And death is simply that change of phase between one mode of expression of life to another that exists before it and will continue to exist. You will not die. You simply change from one reality and enter into another which you perceive to be equally as valid and equally as real to your experience and your expressions of consciousness.
One of the major fears which people have is that of death, because death, I think, means to them annihilation. Now, theosophy gives you that longer perspective, which shows you that the moment of death is not a moment of annihilation. Ultimately, yes, it is true that this personality that we experience today will dissolve, will go through processes wherein the experience culled from this life will be incorporated into that deeper individuality of which I've already spoken, and out of that a new flower, a new personality will be born. Now, for this personality, you may say that this is cold comfort, and looked at from a purely personal point of view, yes, I suppose that is cold comfort. But if you take the wider perspective, the wider vision of a deeper level of being within us, which we sense now, which we can be aware of from time to time as we live now, then that will live. In one sense you are going to live again, in another sense perhaps not. In the sense that we talk about reincarnation, then we would say that the personal elements which make you up, those are not going to live again. Those are like so many stages of growth through which you've been. And the analogy which I like to use is that of the plant, a flower, for instance. Each summer it flowers again, and each flower is unique. Each blossom is unique. But passing from one year to the next, there is the plant itself with its stem and its root system and so forth. And that I liken to the individuality within us which passes from life to life. So in that sense there is continuity, real meaningful continuity, but the individual expression, the individual blossom in each life, in each summer, is unique. I, Adam Walkup, will never live again.
But if we could accept that you are not going to die as a spirit, it will alter our concepts of a number of things that are going on in the world at the moment. This desperate attempt to keep people or small children alive, where something's gone wrong with the body and they can't use it properly. Let them come out of it. They'll be reborn very quickly in a body they can use. We've got to alter this idea that this is something to be afraid of or dreaded. Nobody can kill you. You're immortal. What are you afraid of?
I died as a mineral and became a plant. I died as a plant and rose to animal. I died as an animal and I was man. Why should I fear? When was I less by dying? Yet once more I shall die as man, to soar with angels blessed. But even from angelhood I must pass on.
There are two possibilities here. Either we go on forever, or there is a terminal point. You can think of the processes of reincarnation, and you can say, however many lives I have, 100, 200, 500, 700, what happens at the end of it? Do I finish then? Theosophy says no, we merely graduate into a higher stage of evolution and development beyond that, beyond the purely human. Where that leads to is beyond our comprehension. All that Theosophy says is that it is ultimately an endless process. I personally am more comfortable with a process which spirals onwards and upwards, even if it does seem to be indefinite and indeterminate, rather than something with a fixed term, which however far into the future is going to come to an end, permanent end. If we take as an analogy here the idea of the Christian idea of going to heaven, well, you live through this life and then you go to heaven, which is the end as far as personal individual existence is concerned, and then you have a continuum which goes on forever, which is you in heaven. In theosophical terms, the cyclic nature of birth after rebirth will carry on.